Here's a look at your daily market report on this Tuesday, the 27th day of May. Before we get into the markets, we would like to mention that there has been a few reports of armyworm scattered around the state. In some cases, thresholds were high enough that spraying was required. So if you haven't been out, it'd be a good time to get out and check some of your pastures and small grain fields and make sure there's nothing that's going to cause any damage there. A wild day in the markets today as some rumors spread around which caused some turmoil with the futures markets. Luckily, those rumors turned out to be not true. But that being said, they sure did cause some turmoil early in the trading day. We'll take a look at those futures in a bit. First, we'll talk about some of the cattle auctions around the state this week. Of course, a lot of the auctions are closed. No auctions yesterday, and many of the early to midweek sales are taking off the week. That being said, there was a few auctions today and some low lots of yearlings, which still brought some awfully impressive prices. Kingsville Livestock Auction, they sold 111 head of 909-pound steers at $295. 45 head of 750-pound steers brought $323. 151 head of 730-pound heifers sold at $317.50. Unionville Livestock Auction, they had 22 head of 705-pound steers at $339, and then 7 full loads of those Rockin' R steers, bit heavier this month than last month's consignment. Those 7 loads range from 875 to 910 pounds, sold from $290.50 up to $299.50. Box beef cutout values, choice was up 30 cents at $361.85. Select 49 cents lower for the day at $350.83. Volume 112 loads of cuts, trimmings, and grinds. The choice select spread at $11.02. Negotiated feedlot trade, basically only a couple hundred heads so far this week. Not really enough to test or establish any kind of a market. Last week, when all was said and done, 55,464 head of confirmed negotiated sales. Live sales had a weighted average price of $227.23. That was up 90 cents. Dress sales at $362.21, up $4.46. And both of those values, once again, establishing an all-time new record high. Taking a look at the futures markets now on the Mercantile Exchange. Some really wide trading ranges in the cattle complex today. Markets started out the day slightly higher, then dropped slightly lower, and once some of those rumors started spreading, just dropped off extremely low. Had some losses of near $6 lower, but then they came back as those rumors were confirmed to not be true and only traded with moderate losses today as opposed to the heavy losses that look like they were possible. That is just a reminder of how fast things can happen now, and we do hope that all the cattle producers out there are protecting their assets with some kind of risk protection program. Live cattle for June, $215.12 was the close. That was 67 cents lower. August at $209.30, down $1.15. October, $207.07, down $1.02. August feeder cattle, $298.15, down $2.22. September at $297.25, down $2.10. October at $295.35, down $2. Lean hogs for June, 80 cents higher, $99.10. July, $102.15, up 60. August 102.17, up 90. Taking a look at the grain markets at the elevators around the state on Tuesday, soybeans were 2 to 4 cents higher, wheat 9 to 14 lower, corn steady to 2 higher. Corn bids at the elevators in St. Louis, 480, Kansas City 429 to 467. Soybean bids, St. Louis 1077, Kansas City 1042 to 1087. Wheat bids in St. Louis 528, Kansas City at 523. On the Board of Trade, corn contracts July unchanged at 459.5, September down 433 3/4, December at 446.5, down 4 1/4. July beans up 2 1/4, 1062.5, August 1058 up 2, and September 1042 up 1/4. Wheat contracts, July down 14, 528.5. September down 13 3/4, 544.25. December at 567.5, down 13.25. Soybean meal for July up 10 cents a ton, 296.30. Soybean oil for July 49.57 a hundredweight, up 22 cents. With the Missouri Department of Agriculture, that's the recap of your markets for Tuesday. This is Tom Hancock.